Sounds like a xylophone. Ready to go. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to hit the gavel gently because I don't want to leave a dent. Okay, it's 11:01 a.m. on Monday, October 6th, 2025. This is Colonial Classics. We are recording for future publication on our YouTube channel. We also are live on Zoom if anybody is joining us. I don't think we have anyone on Zoom today. Let's start with some opening thoughts from Larry.
Well, this morning's going to be a little short. You can make up your mind whether it's sweet or not. When the flashlight grows dim or quits working, do you just throw it away? Of course not. You change the batteries. When a person messes up or finds themselves in a dark place, do you cast them aside? Of course not. You help them change their batteries. Some need AA batteries, attention and affection. Some need AAA batteries, attention, affection, and acceptance.
I don't really want to be on screen.
Some need the C type, compassion. Some need D type, direction. And if they still don't seem to shine, simply sit with them quietly and share their light.
I don't know if that's him talking or whether he's tuned in like us.
I like that a lot. Thank you. I took notes.
I see.
All right. Well, here comes Judy. She's going to give us our membership report, and then she'll be followed by Lois. Is Lois in here? Lois, you'll be next with Treasury, and then we'll move right into birthdays. Okay.
Well, we have a nice turnout today. 28 members and 4 guests. So some of our guests we've seen before a few times, but they can stand up if they will.
Who's talking?
Come on.
Lois.
And y'all tell me if I'm saying these names right. Okay.
Oh, maybe
Linda
not.
Jackson. Do I have it right? Okay. Let me see.
Yes.
I know we have 2 more.
He's listening in like we are.
Is that it?
Hmm.
Yeah, we didn't. Okay, you two. Now we're going to get introduced again when you do your presentation. But what is your first and last name? Naomi. Naomi. You want to put it there? Or? Yes. And your son. Put him down here. Yeah. I went all around and I missed you guys.
They're busy working here.
What is this?
NDU.
Okay, okay. That makes 29.
So we'll change to that. Okay. Awesome.
29.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. And if anybody has changed their email address or is not getting the monthly newsletter, make sure you let Judy know or let me know. And Lois just gave me a little slip of paper with our treasurer's report. Our balance right now is $1,127.34. All right. Let's move on to birthdays. Adana, will you come up? And
So good morning. Now we all knew that Barbara Trask could not be here today, but it is her birthday. Barbara Trask's birthday, and she's had a busy time the last 6 months, I think. Okay, but our other birthday lady is Georgina Schwartz, and her birthday is on 27th October. And Georgina, stay put, I will come to you.
Let's sing. Thank you very much. Okay, just to let you know that today's lunch is in the Hospitality Center. Even if you didn't bring food to contribute, please stay and eat with us, and you're welcome to stay if you have time. Old business, the only thing I have is that our fall donation drive is going on right now, and we're collecting new or gently used socks of any size to donate to Haven for Hope. And in case you were wondering, the t-shirts have been delivered to inner city development, and they were very grateful. Any other old business anybody have? New business, I have that the Methodist men, their next meeting is next Sunday, October 12th at 9:45, Sunday school time, in the workroom in the administration building. And their main topic is going to be the Fall Festival. All right, any other new business? All right, good, because I want to move on to what we really came for, and that's our program today. I'm delighted to introduce my friend Naomi Wanjiku Gakunga and her oldest or her youngest son, Do Gakunga. I met Naomi and Do and had the privilege of going to their house way back when we were planning a VBS with the Kenya theme. And Naomi served us a delicious Kenyan meal, and I was able to see some of the art she has on display in her home. And it was like walking into a famous art gallery. It blew me away. She's very talented and has received multiple awards. She has art displayed in galleries around the world, and we are thrilled that she's a member of our church and is here with her son today to have an intergenerational conversation about some of her art. So Naomi and Gakunga, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe, and this is my mother, Naomi Wanjiku. Now, I've known her as an artist all of my life, but let me tell you, she's also one of the best storytellers that I know. And now today I get to sit with her and talk about her art, where it began, how it's grown, and how memory, creativity, and faith are all woven together in her journey.
Thank you, Do, for that introduction. Thank you, Miss Masha, for inviting us to come and share my art. And thank you, Chamsi, for being here for me and for celebrating the International Day of the Artists. It's on October 25th, but I'm glad to be sitting here with you this morning. And yes, I've been an artist before he was born, so that's many, many years. Actually, I've been an artist all my life. I was born in a small village in Kenya. It's called Gasharage. That's what you see there on the screen. And as you can see, Gasharage is a hilly place. That what red soil you see and the bushes on top, that's not just a random piece of photograph. That's what the land looks like. It's hilly, it's green, it has the red soil. In fact, I did a show in Oklahoma, and the piece that I had made that was really a reflection of the red soil, really fascinated people in Tulsa. And the bank there ended up buying the piece because of the red soil. I gave the story of the red soil, and I had no idea Tulsa was a red soil place. And that immediately, that connection really sunk home with them. And it just goes to tell you that when God created, we are all the same. I'm Gasharage with my red soil, and somebody in Tulsa is identifying with that. And what a wonderful, wonderful God he is. And so Gasharage, my grandparents and the people of Gasharage were farmers. They grew corn and maize and yams. They also, as we were getting into independence, started planting coffee. But because it's a hilly land, they had to first create terraces to prevent water and so the water from running over the crops. And so it was a tedious job, and this is just independent from the British in the 1960s. But they were ready for freedom, and there was excitement, and a lot was going on. And so the children were really just walking along. I was one of those children, very young, but enjoying the land and the people and the beautiful space. Mm. Say anything.
This was right around the time that Kenya had just gained independence, correct?
Yes, this is when Kenya got its independence, and a lot of men went to work in the big city in Nairobi. So women were left with children. And so the women were really the ones doing a lot of the groundwork, the tilling of the land, the growing of the cash crops. And my grandparents really was some of the pioneers of growing coffee. So the Kenya coffee that some of you have tasted today and some of you love came just post-independent in Kenya. So the children were really just playing on the terraces and chewing coffee beans and berries and just having fun. I was really taken on by the colors, really, of the land, the green, the red berries, the white flowers. That caught my eye from a very early age.
And you've told me about your grandparents' farm before.
Yes, we've always talked about the farm and how much time I spent there. And I'm a farm child. That's how I grew up. The soil, the dirt, that's all part of me. And that's how like I've said before, I've told you before, we were sucking nectar from flowers, and everything came alive at that time.
And your grandfather had specifically a coffee farm.
Yeah, that was his specific specialty. It was the coffee.
Mhm.
And so I'm very familiar with the coffee. The berries, how they ripen, how you sort them out, you pick them, you take them to the factory, you get them ground. All of that I'm very, very familiar with.
That sounds very beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was fun.
You know, the more I hear you speak and the more that I think the land itself was already shaping your creativity, do you think that that was what started planting the seeds in how you saw the world and how you started to do art?
Absolutely. I was learning my art and my creativity by being out there. You know, the terraces, the maize, the golden yellows, like I say, all those colors really affected the way I saw the world. And also the creatures, all the critters, the lizards out there. I have a sample of one of my art pieces that I have created, really kind of bringing into memory the lizards that I interacted with in those days. I did not have sketchbooks or pencils, but my memory is really what carried me through.
So you didn't see all that as a lab or studio like we would in school, per se?
Not as a kid, really. Of course, that's what it was. When I look back now, it was an ultimate art studio with all the freedom. My grandmother took me everywhere she went. My mother was a teacher at the local elementary school, so my mother went teaching. My grandmother was the babysitter. but it's not babysitting as you know it here. Wherever she was out busy in the farm, visiting friends. And that's how I really got really engaged in the community very early.
And were you already starting to do art and make things at this time in your life?
This is about 5 or 6 years old. I was making my own jump ropes and sharing them with my friends. We would jump together, and then I began to understand the leadership. You know, you're a leader if you could make a good rope, and whoever you invited, and if you didn't want to invite the girls you didn't want to invite. So I began to understand the power of leadership and how it can either hurt or bring people together. And it was very early lessons of leadership. I made my own dolls, I made my own earrings with really all the materials that you could find. They're available, grasses, twigs, shrubs. And we just swapped ideas with one another, all the kids, just trying and learning and playing. That's what we did. We didn't have a whole lot of supply of art materials like I bought you here, but materials were available in nature.
What would you say was your first step into more intentional creation, something beyond mere child's play?
It's probably about the age of 7 when I started really following the women who are weaving baskets. And today I brought you a sample of one of the woven Kenyan basket. Although it's called a woven basket, it's not weaving as you know it. It's not on a loom. This basket is woven from here. And it spirals and spirals, and then it's shaped to become a basket. And so I was very, very attracted, though, to the basket. And yes, the women that were weavers, I hung out with them. The baskets were made from, again, shrubs and straws that were available. But the women encouraged me to really try creativity, and that really shaped me. It shaped my way of thinking.
Was there anyone there in Gasarage who really stood out to you as a teacher or a mentor?
There was a woman who was my grandmother's friend, and I think she sensed very early that I had the talent. And she mentored me somehow, really just teaching me first off, you're making your own strings. So it's identifying the shrub. This is the shrub. This is how you don't destroy the shrub because you're gonna come back. So this is how you strip the bark. This is how you twist it. This is how you dye it. And so all the principles that she taught me, color in Kikuyu. Please remember, everybody, I'm learning everything in Kikuyu. This is Kikuyu country. And so the colors, the principles of design, really, I learned them in the Kikuyu language. And I thought this was just a Kikuyu thing until I went to college. And the principles of design were repeated all over again, just the way Ruth had taught me.
You've told many different stories to my brother and I, some about the clever hare, others about the greedy hyena, and even the talking birds.
Yes, and most of those, and even though the story was really told for me around the fireplace. Now this is the time to get the fire going. In the evenings in Gasharage, when all the chores were done, we all sat around a fireplace. And this is where the cooking happened, the stories, the history of the family. This is where it was all told. I really want you guys to know that there is no electricity in this setting. I'm trying to reduce the volume. There was no boom, boom, boom. Yes, and so the stories that came around the fireplace as my grandmother was weaving the basket were stories. Remember, we didn't have any writing. My grandmother really was the first one in her family to go to school, and very little school because it was during the colonial times. It was just enough for her to be able to read her Bible. And so the stories, whatever she was passing on to us, is what had been passed on to her by her mother and her mother and her mother. So as children, we learned very early to be very attentive and to listen, because this is what you are gonna pass on to your children. They did not know we were gonna go to school and go to college and be able to write and give our children written stuff. So it was very, very important for them to pass that spoken to us. And that is why a lot of times I have spoken to you and your brother, and I kept saying, are you listening? Like 10 times, are you listening? Are you listening? Because the way the knowledge was passed on to me, it was such that it was gonna be transmitted to the next generation verbally. And yes, so the stories that I've given you and your brother came from that fireplace. The singing, really, my grandmother was very good at telling us stories, and she took us through that at that fireplace with the meal going on and laughter and song.
It sounds like the fireside held everything. Warmth, stories, laughter, even lessons about life. What do you think you carried the most and remember the most from those evenings?
Those evenings were magical, but I want to really talk a little bit about what really stood most to me. It was the basket. My grandmother was weaving the basket as she talked, as she gave us the stories, she wove the basket. And the basket in most parts of Africa is not just a basket. It transforms itself. I'll give you examples. When we go to church when we have harvested the first fruits, those first fruits, whether it's a corn or the bean or the sugar cane, when you harvest, those go back to God. So they are put in these baskets and they are taken to church. And there, outside, the day that's called the Sunday of the harvest, the baskets are out there and they are later redistributed to those who do not have enough. Those who did not harvest, perhaps they were ill, they had a member of the child that was not well. They may just have planted and the crops didn't do well. The community knew who they were. And so these first fruits that are coming and they're given back to God, they are given back to the community. So the basket then becomes the vessel through which God is giving back to his people. The basket is also very important when a child is born. Again, the mother is not able to make a meal for the other children. So the community, the church community, and even the larger community will come together, put together baskets, and deliver meals for a week, 2 weeks for that family. But there is a very specific basket that's called the basket of grace. When you receive the basket of grace, when the basket of grace is given to you, when it comes to your home, you don't say thank you. You say, I appreciate with gratitude, because that basket is coming specifically from the Creator. You may want to give me a bag of beans, a basket of beans, and you can stop at my house and say, hey, I brought you some beans. I'll say thank you. And next time I may have corn and I may want to, hey, I want to share my corn with you. But that specific basket, when I bring it to you and I say, this is a basket of grace, there are no expectations. There is no giving back. There is no guilt. You receive it with grace, with gratitude. And so though that basket, my grandmother weaving it, it carried much more than just a basket. It carried faith formation classes, because you're now beginning to understand grace at a very early age. It carried the history. It carried a lot. And so the basket really has influenced my creativity. Now, let me come back to the question you asked me about the 3 freedoms that I learned at the fireplace. One of the freedoms that I got from my grandmother was the freedom to watch and to mimic. Again, remember, she didn't write anything. There was no pattern for, if I was gonna make a basket, there was nothing to go back to. So I had to look at what she was doing, her movements, how she does it, how she folds, how she twists. So I did learn very early to watch and to mimic. It's the same thing with cooking. You and your brother have often asking me, where is the recipe? Where is the recipe? I have no recipes. I learned through motions. I'm now beginning to just ask you, hey, you guys here, put it together, because that's not my department. I learned by watching, by moving, by doing, by repeating, by failing. That was what I got from the fireplace. The next freedom that I got from the fireplace was to listen and to tell back. Remember, you're going to be given that basket. When you're 5 years old and you can walk, the kids you see sitting out here, they will be given the basket to take to a neighbor. And they better be able to tell whether it's a grace basket or it is just, I want to give you something basket, or what kind of a basket. And when the child comes back, you will ask her, what did Miss Marsha say when you gave her the basket? And the child will say, she accepted it with gratitude. Then you know the child got the message. If the child comes and says, she said, thank you, now you know something has gone off and you gotta go and let her know it was a basket of grace. So you learn very early to listen and to be able to tell it back. And then you learn you're not just listening to repeat, but also to be able to form your own story and to form your own way of speaking back. Did I cover all the three freedoms? I think I did. No, the third one. It was to create without fear. When my grandmother created her basket, when the women in the village created, this is a portable piece of art. They walk weaving. You'll meet with the women walking and they are weaving. So that freedom, when you were younger, if you remember when I took you swimming, I used to have a basket and I would have my crochet stuff and I would be crocheting or knitting. That freedom to just do your creativity where you are. Don't get into that mindset. You gotta be in a studio to create. You can create from anywhere. You can do it at any time. Those are the freedoms that I got from the fireplace.
And you made many of these different animals for us. And
No, you're off. You're at Gasharage. You left Gasharage.
you left Gasharage and studied at the University of Nairobi, and then afterwards at the University of California, Los Angeles. And now you create art here in San Antonio, Texas, but your roots, of course, are still in Gasharage, right?
Yes, I'm very humbled that really coming from that small village, I I excelled and went to the local University of Nairobi, which at the time was taking only 2,000 students out of the 250,000 who had enrolled in first grade. So it was not about how brilliant you are. It was God's grace. If you're a brilliant kid and somehow you got sick, you never got there. If you're a brilliant kid and your parent could not pay your tuition, you never got there. So it was not about how we all knew, and we were humbled that to make it to be one of the 2,000 that made it, it was pure grace. And yes, I want to take you back to the fireplace because, like I said, our faith formation classes started there at that fireplace. The Lord's Prayer in Kikuyu, it was at that fireplace. Apostles' Creed in Kikuyu, tough, because it has to be translated from English to Kikuyu. Yeah, that fireplace. Biblical verses, reciting and reciting and reciting the fireplace. So though, as I moved on to Gasharage, from Gasharage to Nairobi, to Los Angeles, to San Antonio, grace has carried me through. I'm now gonna show you the rest of, I'm gonna now take you through my work. You can see it now. Turn off your. I'm gonna take you through my art. That's why I came here. Again, that's the basket. Nothing has influenced me more than that basket. And I've already told you enough about the basket. Those are women in Gasharage village weaving baskets. Like I told you, it's a pastime. You can see they're standing and they are weaving. And it really is just their way of life. Now, this is my interpretation of the basket. And these were my initial, really very early experimental. My art, anybody who's asking you what is her art about, I want you to remember three things. If you leave this space and somebody asks you, she talked about her art. What did she talk about? What is she about? My art is about memory, material, and transformation. Memory, I've just taken you back through my memories. Material, I've already walked you the journey of I could use any material, I could create with any material from the age of 5. And so in my creativity today, I continue to blend materials. In the work that you're looking at is crocheted stainless steel wire and the woven size basket. So my art is about memory, material, and transformation. Again, there, the basket transforms itself. Here, I'm attempting the one with the yellows, I'm attempting to bring the two people together, the receiver and the giver, or one who receives the grace. That's what I'm attempting to bring there. Again, that piece, which is called Magetha, which I already talked about Magetha, the big harvest, when they have that big harvest, where they take all the baskets to the church and it's given back to the community. And this piece really is about that giving back. It's about grace. The basket is really all about grace. And I'm bringing it together with the crocheted wire. The crocheted wire for me has been that element where you see through, where there is no barrier. And really, I think as people of God, we know there are no barriers between us and God unless we really create them. God is there. He's there for us anytime, all the time. And that wire that I use is really very symbolic of that clarity, that clearness that we get as we walk our journey with the Creator. This is I have used the encino seeds here, the oak tree seeds. The piece really is about the mighty oak tree. We live in South Texas. We see them all the time. I don't know whether we ever think about how they thrive. This part of the country is rock. How does that tree survive to become a huge tree and it's rock? And probably it's really a metaphor for us. How do we, even in times of problems, when it's only rock, how do you thrive as a Christian? If a tree, even an encino tree, an oak tree, can survive and thrive in rock, how much more are we as God's people ready to thrive in spite of everything that we go through? And I say that I speak as an immigrant. When we come in as immigrants, we try to root ourselves in a place, and it's a very tough thing to do. But we do it and we integrate ourselves into the community. And you too, there are times when you have to integrate yourselves into situations. You're not alone. If God can take care of that oak, how much more can He take care of us? One of the dances here in San Antonio has really influenced the way I see art, and it's the folklorico dance. I first saw it at the downtown market when I moved here, and it just fascinated me. That's a picture that I took like maybe 20 years ago because I didn't even see the dance. What I was seeing was the swirl of the dancers and the energy of the dancers. And it really fascinated me so much that I went on to create my own dance. That is my interpretation of the dance, using again the crocheted wire and color, fabrics borrowed from the folklorico dancer's dress. And so that to me is an interpretation of the dance. The dance really for me, is a universal language. You don't have to understand anything. It's like music. Music, you listen to music and you say, oh, I'm enjoying that music, but it's in another language. And dance is the same. When you see people dance, the movement, it just catches your eye, and you don't think about, are they blue, are they green, who are these people? You just see it and you enjoy it. And I love dance for that. It kind of brings us and unites us in a very special way. Now, I want to take you back to Kenya in the 1960s that I was talking about when Kenya was getting its independence. And the men went to work in the city and the women were left. The children now suddenly had access to education. Remember, there was labor. Men were there, children were there. We were running around, being sent to take this basket here, that basket there. Post-independent, we had access to education. So we went to school. And the women, my grandmother and her friends, were left at home alone. And they were overwhelmed with the chores. So they were just trying to figure out, what can we do? Where can we start? And they thought if they could roof their homes with sheet metal, which we call mabati sheet metal. If we could roof these homes with this material, we don't have to keep re-roofing the homes every 6 months, every 8 months. Prior to the mabati, they were using grass and thatch. They would roof and they would fall apart if rain, sun, they would disintegrate, they would re-roof. So one of their major tasks was roofing the home. If you're asking why were the women roofing the homes, this is a Kikuyu thing. The men make the, what do you call it? The base, and women roof. That goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. So the women solved this issue by bringing in sheet metal. When they started exploring to use this material, how to use it, they discovered it was very expensive. And so they thought, okay, it's expensive, but we have to do it anyways. So this is what they did. They started selling their corn, their maize, their beans, and the money that they got would be given to one individual, and the individual would roof the home. They became collectives where the community came together and the money would be given to an individual, an individual, an individual. Eventually, all the homes had roofs. So why is the roof special? One, they're not going to re-roof again. They have time. Two, they have clean water. They are now harvesting water from the roofs. So they're not going to be making the 10 trips back and forth from the river. They've saved time. They have clean water. The generation of women was referred to as the Mabati women because they transformed the lives of themselves and their families with the use of a single material. The time they saved, they went on to plant huge farms of coffee, pyrethrum. You think of it, they planted. Most of all, they were able to negotiate education for their children, their girls. Girls, why would you educate a girl who's gonna get married and move on? You educate the sons, they stay on, they take care of you in your old age. Women said, wait a minute, we have money now, we can negotiate for our daughters. My mother is one of those daughters who went to school because their mothers negotiated. This is the material that I use in my work. It's the material you saw out there, that are the piece that's lying on the table. It's that material, sheet metal. It's a material that symbolizes resiliency, freedom, hope, and any other word that you may think of that comes with that group, the group of women who really sacrificed to educate their daughters and to really educate the society, because then now everybody in the society is educated. The men are educated, the women are educated. It goes back to those Mabati women. This piece, if anybody is in Houston between now and January next year at the Houston Center of Contemporary Art, it's showing there. And in fact, they just gave me an award for it 2 weeks ago. This piece, Itonyero entrances. Again, as you can see, it's Mabati, sheet metal. I leave it outdoors, it ages with time. I bring it in, I begin my creative process. If you're at the summer, the San Antonio Museum of Contemporary Art, ask them to show you the piece, it's there. This, if you're ever at the convention center, the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, you'll find this piece there. It's very colorful. It speaks of the South Texas, bright colors. Again, it's Mabati, resiliency, community, coming together. And ultimately, as a people of faith, that's what you need. The picture to the right, that's me in my backyard. The pieces are so big, as you can see. A lot of times I'm outdoors with 2 tables like you gave me this morning, and working out there, stitching, crocheting, doing whatever that I need to do. It's a huge piece. It's probably about 90 inches by 90 inches, approximately. It's a huge piece, collected by the US Embassy in Nairobi. Again, it's collected back home where I came from, although I live here. It's God's grace. It's not that I've worked harder than anybody else. It's just God's grace. That's my community helping me in my studio. That's my husband on top of the ladder. That's Doe when he was younger. And that's me. Yes, I do get on the ladder. You can't be making those kind of pieces and traveling the world. And people ask you, how do you hang these? We don't know what to do. I get up on the ladder and I show them what they're supposed to do. And so, yes, I am agile enough to be on the ladder. But after running on those terraces in the village, up and down, and climbing trees, going up on a ladder is not a big deal. I want to share this picture. The left is my 2 young children when I took them back to Kenya way back, 2004. I wanted them to see what I've just talked to you about. And the women, the Mabati women that I found in 2004, they were the few remaining. My grandparents had already gone. Most people in the village had moved on. They had gone to be with their creator. These women were my grandmother's best friends. I remember many times when I took the basket to them. They held my hand and they said, you know what? Your grandmother is gone. You're very fortunate you found us. When you come back, we'll be gone. It is called, they said it's called God's way of living. And they really touched me. And I started to see friendship in a very different way. That your friends, I get emotional when I talk about this, your friends, years from now, could be holding your granddaughter and saying, hey, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's well, it is well with our souls. I took a group of people to Gasharage after I've been talking to people about the same way I'm talking to you, people here in San Antonio. They said, we want to come. When I had gone in 2004 and that emotional time, my grandparents gone, I sat with the woman who had been taking care of the children and the youth ministry for over 50 years. And I asked her, what can we do for you? And she said, the youth, we want to take them to camps, but we don't have the money. And I said, so they really wanted to take the youth to the camp every Christmas for 1 week. And they wanted a meal for the children one day before Christmas or after Christmas. And I said to them, we'll take care of that. And when I came back and I spoke with my friends, we started doing that. And so I was taking my friends back to Kenya so they could see the community that we had been supporting for so many years. And this really for me was a huge moment, going back where I came from and just finding a few people that were still around. Do you recognize anybody there? Pastor Polly? This is a very special, yeah, she was one of the people who came back to Gasharage with me. This is a very special picture with me. The woman who is holding Polly's hands is the woman I've just talked about, who taught the children and youth ministry for over 50 years. She's now 85, and she just retired about 5 years ago. So after we had finished our formation classes at the fireplace, she was the woman we found at the church and who walked us through whatever else we needed to become solid Christian children. And when I went back, she was still there. And so that's when I said to her, what can we do for you? Well, Polly, for those of you who don't know, I met Polly when I came here, when I moved to San Antonio, and my children were young, and I was in a new city, and I was feeling lost, completely lost. She held my hand. She invited me to a Bible study that she was leading at the time. I got to meet women. I got to feel comfortable. And so when the coming of these two women together for me, the only words I have is the verse we read in the Bible, grace after upon grace upon grace. That is what this is to me. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all. Amen.
Microphone. There we go. Thank you again, both of you. That was awesome. Should we see if anybody has any questions
Yes,
for you?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you have a mic for them? If you have a question for Naomi or Doe, please raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very good. But I was wondering what you use for dye in your baskets.
Originally, now they're using dyes from all over. There are dyes available because they still make baskets in Kenya. But originally, they taught me how to identify the shrubs and the leaves and the seeds that would be boiled to make the dye. So it was a very tedious process, but it was all natural material. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, like the piece that is outside, that's the wire crochet piece, how long did that take you to make that?
You know, like I mentioned, I used to have a little bag when my children were younger, and I would go take them swimming or soccer or wherever. So I am just doing and doing and doing, and then later I come and bring it together. So time, it's a lot of time, but it's time that's not put aside like I'm gonna sit down and crochet. It's time that's available in the evening when they're watching sports and I sit down with them. That's what I'm doing, or whatever free time that I have. That's what I do. It's tedious and it's a lot of work.
Could you recite the Lord's Prayer in your native language?
Can I?
Can you recite the Lord's
I can
Prayer?
recite it and my children can recite
Okay.
it too. That's the only thing that I thought like, what am I gonna, yes, the fireplace, and I gave them the stories and I made them critters and they grew up and they outgrew the critters. And I'm thinking, what can I give them? What is it they can carry forward? And so, yes, they can say the Lord's Prayer in Kikuyu. Very tedious for them because for me, I was in the environment and it was repeated. It was repeated at the church. It was repeated. For them, they could only hear it from me. But yes, we do say it in Kikuyu.
Can you recite it today?
Yes, it's long. Yes, it's a long prayer. Yes, I can recite it.
Oh.
Ithe witũ igũrũ, rĩĩtwa rĩaku rĩamũrwo, ũthamaki waku ũũke, o ũrĩa wendete we, nĩ wĩkagwo gũkũ thĩ, o ta ũrĩa wĩkagwo kũu igũrũ. Tũhe ũmũthĩ irio citũ cia gũtũigana, na gũtuohere mehia maitũ, o ta ũrĩa ithuĩ tuohagĩra arĩa matwĩhagia, nĩ ũndũ ũthamaki nĩ waku, ona hinya, ona kũgocwo, tene na tene. Amen.
Could you give us a list of where your things are showing? So if we're ever somewhere that has a museum that has some of your work, we could go see?
Yes, we can do that with Miss Masha. I can email her and
That would be
it will-
wonderful.
Yes, sure, yes.
Thank you.
When you're crocheting with your wire, do you use some kind of a needle or do you just use the wire itself?
It's the wire and the hook, the silver hook.
Oh,
You
you
know
do
the little
use the
silver
hook?
hook? Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see you
Sure,
in
yes.
action making
Yes,
one of
we will
these.
we can we can connect and you can come over to my studio and see what I do. Yes, sure.
Are your boys also artists?
In their own ways, but not in the way that I do my art, but in their own, no. When they cook, when they bake, the way they will present their cookies, it's very artsy. When they dress up, like he will dress this way and wear a jacket and go to a wedding. So they are creative in their own ways, but not in mom's way of creativity.
Any other questions? If not, Naomi and Doe, we have a thank you card for you we'd like to give you. Thank you
Oh,
so much
thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank
And
you.
we can, I'm so glad you're church members. We can talk to you more on
Yes,
Sundays.
talk to me
and-
anytime you see me here.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Thank you again. I just wanted to let you all know that our November meeting will be Monday, November 3rd, and we're having a detective from the San Antonio Police Department Financial Crimes Unit coming to talk about recognizing and avoiding scams. So that's something that we'll all want to hear about, I'm sure. Let's close with Lynn. Can you come and give us a blessing before our meal? And then after we adjourn, we'll go out and have lunch together.
What a wonderful program. I think we have a need for a standing ovation. Shall we? Thank you so much. And we're so delighted that you're a part of us and we can see you on Sundays and continue the conversations. What a gift you have and what a gift you are. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time together and how over and over again you nurture us through the wonderful programs, through the fellowship, through having lunch together. We ask your blessings on each and every one. We're particularly mindful of the fact, since this is October 6th, that we are hoping very much that there will be some developments in the Middle East that will help there to be peace in that area. Thank you for your love for all of us and your desire for peace as we move forward as brothers and sisters, followers of Christ. We ask your help. We ask your blessings and your grace to be upon us forever. And to you, we are grateful and give the glory. Amen.
All right, so we're adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.